All right, we're over here at the bender. I've cut a piece of tube out of the roof. Actually, I literally had to cut the tube out of the roof, hence the ladder sitting over there with the grinder on it, because I jammed it up there about 6 months ago and got stuck, and I don't know why it was there, but anyway. Now, as I said, I'm going to bend this one here first, so I'm going to come up about 700 mil, give myself 66-ish degrees. So, come up 700, which is there. I want the bend to be on this side. The bend is going to be on this side because I've put that mark there. Obviously, the die side is the bend side. Now, I've already changed the dies out for the smaller ones because you'll remember this is thinner tube than the main hoop. All right, that is set up ready. Now, I'm going to turn the air compressor on and make a heap of noise, and we'll get this bent up, and I'll bring you back in. Okay, so I've got this clamp back up in the bender again, but I've just got it in an arbitrary position. Now, I first of all need to actually put my bar clamp on here, because I'm going to need to position this. Probably should have done this first. I'll actually slide it back through and double check this is right, because again, once you set these off angle, they're less than accurate. That's sitting at a 1.2. That's sitting at a 1. No, it's not. 1.2. Okay. So basically, now this and the die are on the same plane. They're completely perpendicular. So if I bend this now, both of my legs will sit straight. However, I don't want that. I want this tube here to actually be at an angle, and over here. So to do that, what we do is we actually rotate the tube in the bender, and that means that this leg won't be on the same plane as this leg anymore. They'll actually be off. And because we're only going 90 degrees, instead of it being, if it was a 180 degree, you'd have one leg pointing that way and one leg pointing that way. Because it's only 90 degrees, we'll get one leg pointing that way and one leg pointing that way, which is exactly what we want to match the contours of the car. So this is bent to 66 degrees. Now I need to come across from the start of my bend, which is that oil line there. I want 640 to the start of my next bend. And this is just the same process as all your other bends. 640 is inside the die, so that is just great. That usually fits through there. Fits in that side. 640, a little bit further. So I have to actually move that forward in the die a little bit. My 640 is right there. And my bend is on this side. So again, put an arrow, make sure I've got it. So I'll release this, slide the tube into my 640 mark, and then I need to roll this over 14 degrees to get my offset. Now, I don't want two symmetrical bars. I want two opposite bars, because the car goes out that way, not like that. So I need to remember which way I roll this bar, so that I roll the other one the opposite way. Which way you go first and which way you go second isn't a huge deal. If I bend this one the wrong way, it just means that all the measurement I took off the passenger side, I'll have to just put this one in the driver's side and work over there. They should be the same. However, because I've got the seat in and all the wiring and I'm trying to film it, I really do want to get the passenger side. So I'll think through this a little bit, make sure I've got it the right way, because it's obviously upside down. But if you don't care, if you've got your car completely stripped and you're doing both sides, which you have to do anyway, roll this one way, and then when you come on and make the next one, you just roll it the other way, and then you'll have a matching set. Is that all I need to explain? That's all I need to explain. So I'm going to release this, slide it into my 640 millimeters, and then get my offset. And then find out that it's wrong and have to redo it. But, you know, you can always use more test bends. And then if this is the top and I want it to go out that way and down, means that I need to lean that way. But because it's upside down, I need to lean it that way. So my 14-degree lean over, which is not going to work with it being that tight. That's on the ground now. This is very hard to get, and you're only sort of ever going to get kind of close to it, because every movement I make of this tube makes a huge difference on the inclinometer as to where it actually sits. And I'm not even talking about moving the actual tube. I'm talking about like moving it in the die, moving the angle of it, you know, like wriggling it around like that changes the angle. Like it's a very imprecise thing to do on this style of bender, on this style of floor, in this style of home garage. So let's clamp this up a little bit. That is in there. Now we'll double check everything. So we're sitting almost level, still 1.3 degrees off. 1.3 degrees. So we actually need to be over 14. We actually need to be 15.3 lean over, which we absolutely are not. All right, let me just quickly slide this back into the die, and I'll attach this clamp properly where I know that it's exactly 90, because I kind of want this to be right. Be back in a jiffy. Okay. So I set my my tube clamp at 0. Also worked out that I was doing things backwards, so I've decided to go that way with it. Is that right? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. It's set at about 13.7 degrees. Again, everything sort of moves, and when you move things, the angle changes. Is it critical? No. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this till it's about 88 degrees. This is about 22 degrees. Let's go. In this position, actually, this end of the tube sits pretty well level. So I go to about 24 here. And then when the tube relaxes, you get about 2 degrees of spring back. So it should be pretty good. Right there. And then we should get 2 degrees spring back. We should be good. So now, is this going to fit in the car? No, I need to cut it down. It's way too long. I don't even know what length it is. I was up in the roof, so I just cut a piece that I knew was long enough. So I'll get it out of the bender after I find my spanner, cut the leg to approximately the right length, cut this to approximately the right length, and we'll do a test fit. Did I go the right way? I did go the right way. Nice. And shazam, jump cut. All right. Back in the car, we've got our attempt number 2, and I've just completely muffed putting that in the car. So as you can see, I've dropped the main hoop back just because I haven't trimmed this one to length yet. So that is approximately on the floor where I would like it. Obviously, it has to go behind that bracket, and then it has to sit up there like that. That is almost perfect. It's a little bit high here. Needs to be down a little bit. I do need to drop this maybe a little bit. Yeah, I need to drop that a little bit because I want to push it further forward. I've got a bit of a gap here. I want this to be as far forward as possible and as high up as possible. So yeah, I'll take, I don't know, 10, 15 mil off of there, and we'll have a crack at it. But yeah, as you can see, that is a lot better. That hugs this now. I can't even get my fingers in between there now, all the way down. It matches the pillar bar perfectly. Almost it can go out about 4 mil at the bottom just to dead line up. So yeah, doubling that offset from 14 degrees to 28 degrees works. Again, I don't know why it works, and it only works on that Speedworks Model 1 bender. And again, I wouldn't recommend that bender. It's the best you can get for the money. It is portable. It is easy to use because obviously it's air over hydraulic. You don't have to manually crank it. You don't have to bolt it down. It gives you really nice bends. It is great. It is just, if you're using it every day, it is just such a hassle because there's so many moving parts on it and nothing, everything wants to fall. So you've got, your die clamp, your bottom die, it all moves, it all slides. And yeah, like trying to put this back in here to rebend it is an absolute nightmare. I've thrown many tools across the shop trying to do it. But for doing main hoops, it's a great thing. It's nice and quick and easy. But yeah, for doing these offsets, it's weird, and trying to put them back into rebend. But if you don't want to spend, in Australia, it's about $3.5 grand for a JD squared with dies and stuff, then get the Model 1. It does do the job. And if you're only using it once or twice a year, then it's a lot cheaper. So I really like that. I'm going to take a notch off that end, make it fit in a little bit better, put it back in, and then I'll pick the main hoop up until it contacts, and I'll measure how much further I want the main hoop to come forward, and then we'll trim that bit off. So I'll just quickly get the world's smallest clamp, see if it's going to work to hold this up here. Excellent. Okay, now that it all fits in there properly, we need to mark out our notch. And if you're wondering where I am, I'm right here. Hi. Don't worry, I wouldn't leave you. So, since I already have a pen here. So, now there's a lot of adjustment in this tube. Like, not adjustment, but there's a lot of ways that it can be welded in at its current length, or, whatever. So I'll release the clamp here and I'll show you. So you probably, I don't know how much you can see from there, but I can sit it there, or with a little bit of twisting, I can run it up a bit higher around the bend, or even if I kick the leg out a little bit further, I can run it down there. You know, there's a lot of play in a tube like this, and it's the same for both sides, which is pretty obvious. But yeah, the point I'm getting at here is what I do here, I need to do over there. I need to do it exactly the same, and it's difficult because, as I've said, cars aren't usually very symmetrical. So you just sort of need to eyeball it off, you know, off points that match on both sides. But so I need to figure out where I want this one now. Obviously, I've pushed the main hoop back. I sort of want it sitting more on the front of this line here. I've quickly measured it. It's sitting back about 55 mil from this crease here, and I want it back about 40. So I take about 15 mil out, which is about what my notch is. So to sit it on the center here, it's going to have to be about there somewhere. So the tube is coming in to here. So my intersection point is there, and it comes out here. That's essentially, when you've got a straight cut like this, it's where it touches on both sides is what you're marking. That's where your notch needs to go. So the hole saw needs to follow the same path as the tube you're intersecting. So it needs to go through there, and it needs to be the same angle as this tube. So if I run it through at 90 degrees, this tube doesn't. So my notches, I'm going to have a gap at the top and not at the bottom. So once I need to come through here and mark the angle, which you can also measure this if you want. So if you measure the gap at the top there, because it's touching at the bottom, you can also do it that way, or you can just eyeball it and just sort of draw a line across it. So my angle's kind of like that, maybe a little bit less extreme than that even. But that's the two measurements that I need. So I need to know which, because the tube obviously can roll in the notcher. I need to know the intersection line, so my throat line, and I need to know my angle. So I'll set the bender to that angle. I'll rotate this tube until I get my throat line, same as I did with the other one. And then obviously it's how far back my tube needs to, or my notch needs to be, which is about 15 mil from the end, which is obviously from this end where it's touching, not the top end where it's not touching. Shouldn't need to say that, but I'm an idiot, and you know, it's the kind of thing that I'd screw up. So let's go over to the notcher and we'll try and set this up. Yoink. Okay. What's your best angle? Here? Best angle there? Yeah, maybe there. Okay. We're over at the notcher. Didn't even bring a pen with me. So the 15 mil was on the bottom. This was about 3 mil off. Actually, you know what? I just go 15 here anyway. Because just means I need to move the main hoop 3 mil further forward, which is fine. So my tube notcher needs to intersect from this point and come out there on that angle. Should have marked the angle on the other side. Actually, no, it needs to go this way because that's the angle that this is on. Now, this is not easy. Put that in there. Give it a quick nip up just so that it holds itself. I'll reassess. So I'm not quite on the right angle. So we'll loosen this up. I actually bent this tube another 2 degrees because where it was intersecting up in the roof line, because of the bend of the roof tube, there's a bit of a gap up in the top corner. It was hitting up in the top gap there, and I either need to pull it away from the roof line or bring it down so it intersected further around the curve. So I actually brought it down another 2 degrees so that it intersected further. It's lower down the curve, but it's tighter into the roof line. So hopefully the scrutineers will see my thinking there and it'll be fine. The rules just say that this tube needs to intersect at the roof line. So whatever at the roof line means to you. So that's about it there. Obviously you can calculate this better than this, just, you know, with all the tools that we've got, but or as I said, it was about 3 degrees. So if I if I run that line across there, it's what's that, 7 mil there and 5 mil there, so it's only about 2 mil, so it's probably not quite enough, but I can always grind out a mil of tube, that's no dramas. So that's the angle set. Now I just need to set the depth. And again, I've got my throat line set up there, so if I push that forward and rotate it a little bit, it'll put a scratch on the tube, and the scratch on the tube there is a little bit higher than my throat line, so I need to rotate it a tiny bit in the bender. There. And then it's just depth, which was 15 mil, and I'm standing right in front of the camera. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So 15 mil is about. This would be a lot easier if someone hadn't put it in the bender. Actually, 15 mil is pretty close to where it is. I'll run with that there. I don't think I'm going to get all the way to my wings. I need to take a little bit more off. But we'll try. So just block your ears for a second. This is going to get a bit loud. The main enemy of any cutting tool is heat. Hole saws, reciprocating saw blades, not so much grinding wheels, drill bits, etc. It's all heat, so cutting fluid / coolant helps. It also helps with chips, getting the chips out, which makes for a smoother cutting experience. So cutting fluid. So you know what, for this grand occasion, because you just know that I got this right on the first go and I'm not going to have to touch it again, I'll set you up over here and you can watch it go in. Look at this, no takes at all, just straight shot, just straight into it. How's that? Can you see everything there? You can see how perfect this is. In saying that, I do need to grind out the throat there, because I need to obviously take the dags off, but you also want to sort of put a V groove in your tubes, so that when you weld, you're not just welding on the surface of the tube, you're actually getting 100% penetration. So it will need to come back out again, but we can pretend. Oof, that's way too low. Hang on. That's right, this needs to go further forward. Right about there, like that. How's that? Oh. Now, obviously, the further I come out, the higher up it pushes the tube, so I need to find a happy medium between where I want it. The world's smallest clamp on there. Great success. Yeah, so as I said, I need to grind this so that when I weld in here, I'm getting all the way into this tube. And I'll probably do the same thing on the bottom. I now know where my feet are going to go, so I can, there's a few more studs down here I can cut off, and I can grind up and build my base plates down there. I won't bother taking you along for that, because it's the same as these other base plates. They're just flat and don't have a box. They just got a bit of a bend in them. You can box down there. You don't really need to, because when you drop this end down, this all sort of comes down, and then I've got my weld here. I've already cleaned up the tube for my pillar bar, which goes here to here, and my roof bar, which goes there to there. There will probably still be a dash bar. I've just got to work out where I'm going to put that. It might have to come down fairly low through here. I haven't cleaned that up yet because I don't know where it's going to go. Yeah, so I've already ground that. And so that weld there, obviously I can get to all the time. This dash roof bar here. When you drop this down, you can sort of just quite get in there. Door bars I can get into, that's fine. Again, once this is welded in and I need to weld along the back side of my foot here, I can ratchet strap these together and pull them in. Sorry, I'm just planning out how I'm gonna weld this. So this can be welded solid as soon as it's ready to go. Yes, that can be welded solid as soon as it's ready to go. So I'll take this out, dress it. I'll mark that up, dress that, make another one. And then I will bring you back in at that point.